Welcome, one and all. This is superhero culture.
I'm SpiderWize.
And I'm TechAnt. And oh boy, have some things happen. Guys, it's been a bit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Thanos snapped away my green hair, for one thing.
You only lost the color? You
I mean...
I got gypped! Ugh.
So, Endgame. Wow, there is a lot to unpack there.
Ooh.
And it goes without saying, spoilers are going to be left and right in this video, so click away if you have not seen it yet.
Get out of here. You don't want... You need to have the experience. Trust us. It's so good. It's so good. Where do we begin?
I mean, there's so much.
I mean, it's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it.
There was a lot of hype leading up to this. There was so much discussion about what this movie was. There was so much to be expected. And I think it lived up.
Oh yeah, totally.
It's really good. It's got so much content in it for every kind of fan.
Yeah, it was a really lean 3 hours as well. Like, everything that had to be in there was in there. And it didn't even feel like 3 hours, really. It felt like half that, if anything. And one of my favorite things, too, is the crowd experience.
Oh my god.
That's why I love going on opening days to movies like this, because the crowd is electric.
They're so into it. They're so ready. It's great. It's so high energy.
Even little things like, spoiler, New York, 2012, cheering everythre.
They did the shot from the original Avengers.
That made me so
the pan around
happy.
shot. It was so nostalgia.
And I called it as soon as it was like leading up to it. Too.
Oh yeah, about 5-10 seconds in before they're gonna show the shot. They're gonna do it.
As soon as the text came up and the Chitauri started coming up, I was like, oh my god, it's gonna happen. They're gonna do it. Oh my god. I loved how chill they were about the Professor Hulk reveal, too. Like,
oh, yeah.
They didn't even say anything. They just showed him, like, in a diner. He's like, yeah, I'm here now. It's me. I'm Smart Hulk.
He goes straight in. What's up? Hey, kids. Dab. Get him.
Oh, yeah. In 2023, Fortnite and dabbing still have not been killed. Somehow.
That's not...
We live in a society. And I
ridiculous.
liked what they did with that too. Like, they spent a significant amount of time in the post-snap world.
Yeah.
So we could really see all the ramifications of everything. That was one of the things I was a little bit worried about. Like, even in 3 hours, are they going to fit in some stuff to show us how much everything was really impacted?
Yeah.
And they did that beautifully, I thought.
Yeah, that 5-year jump was exactly what the movie needed. It told an amazing story without leaving out that whole chunk of time. We didn't miss almost anything. We jumped right in, and the world was destroyed, but it was exactly what we were expecting.
Yeah. Speaking of subverting expectations, that whole thing in the beginning where they go to Thanos' farm planet and just kill him straight up.
Straight up. He went for the head. He's gone. But nobody was ready.
No.
Nobody was ready.
As soon as they cut off his hand, I was like, he has to be using the Reality Stone and tricking everybody again.
Why would he just... You can't. What are you doing, man? You just... This big bad villain for the whole movie? The whole entire killed half the population just...
And he dies twice in this movie.
He dies twice.
Twice.
Hey, did we mention spoilers?
Also, a great thing about going back to the Battle of New York, we got to see the other heroes that we didn't see before. We didn't even know about the sorcerers back then. Yeah. But we saw them fighting off the Chitauri and helping the Avengers in a way, which was super cool, I thought.
For sure.
The Ancient One schooling Banner was a great scene in and of itself.
It was really cool as well just to see all of that from different angles. Like the past stuff, it was my favorite. I hate it when stories do time travel because it's so complicated to look at and explain, but it's just fun.
Yeah, the Battle of New York, honestly, was one of my top favorite things that they went back to in Endgame. Mm-hmm. Probably even like top 2, honestly.
For sure.
Top 2 favorite moments in the entire movie, because we got to go back to that iconic scene, the revolving shot that everyone knows and loves and talks about endlessly, and we also got to see so much added onto it. like that we had no idea was happening back in 2012.
Right.
We got to see elevator scene .2.
Oh, the Redux. Oh, but it was not how we thought. They have to be waiting for the exact, anyone want to get out before we start. You know that's what he's going to say, but he doesn't. Mm-hmm. He pulls a Hail Hydra. He pulls the thing that we were all talking about. When was that?
2017.
2017.
The internet lost its collective shit about Secret Empire, Captain America suddenly defecting over to Hydra. He's been Hydra the whole time. Everyone's minds exploded. Kind of a universally hated story arc, but now he says it in the movie and everyone just goes insane, so happy about the reference.
It's a lovable twist.
Yeah.
I can't... Oh...
I laughed so hard when he walked out of the elevator with the scepter. Like, it was literally that easy.
Oh, and then that leads into another fantastic scene. The cap-on-cap fight. Oh,
His past self thinks that he's Loki until he pulls a Bucky is alive.
A Bucky is alive.
And then Tony makes fun of his old suit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all of us back then were like, why does his suit look so weird? And that doesn't look like a good suit. And then they of course, Marvel does. They make a tongue-in-cheek reference to that in their own movie.
So many tongue-in-cheek references.
If anyone out there is a hardcore Marvel fan like us, they probably had some theories going into this movie before they saw it, which we definitely did.
Of course.
We had a couple of our own, and we were half on the mark and half off, I would say.
Right around, yeah. I feel like mine was... it was pretty well confirmed, I'd say. Mine that I came up with was mostly centered around Doctor Strange and his line in Infinity War when he tells them that it was the only way, when his decision to give up the Time Stone and his deliberateness of saving Iron Man and all of his actions based off of future realities.
He did say, even like in the first part of the movie, he said, if it comes between you or the kid or the Time Stone, I won't hesitate to let either of you die.
For sure. No, that was dead set intent. And then as soon as he looked into the future, he knew what he had to do, which meant everything up to that point was very intentional. Every action, he knew Quill had to punch him. He knew that they had to lose that fight. He knew that the snap had to happen, and it was all confirmed by the previous owner of the Time Stone in Endgame.
The Ancient One, yes. Talk about a surprise cameo.
Yeah.
So another little theory that I had before going into the movie was basically centered around that shot in the trailer of Tony and Steve sort of shaking hands and reaffirming their trust for each other. I thought, what if they, and I was right about this part, I was like, what if they CGI'd the details of Cap's Infinity War suit onto his body, and they were hiding a different suit of his from the past? Which was correct. He was wearing his Battle of New York 2012 suit.
Yeah.
I thought back then that it was like the Winter Soldier suit, possibly, because that's what we had seen him wearing in other trailers before. Right. And I thought that Tony would have traveled back to 2014 instead of 2012. So, it was a little bit on the mark there. A little bit miss.
Close, but no cigar. One of the biggest things I'm not seeing so many people talk about is all the little nods in the previous movies to Endgame. The big lead up, saying the name here and there before we knew. And one of the biggest ones I can think of is the intro to Age of Ultron.
Right.
Tony's vision that he has, vision. His vision that he has of all the Avengers being wrecked.
Yeah.
And it's like a flashback, flash forward. It's not
It's
whole lot
left
explained.
up to interpretation, really.
I mean, it's a vision.
There's so many little references in that vision to everything that happens in Endgame. It's amazing to go back and watch it again. Cap's shield being broken in half, for one.
Or, like, the Battle of 2012 happening again.
Yeah.
Like, it shows the portal.
Nat being dead. Rest in peace.
It shows, like, some of the other characters dead, or just defeated at the very least. But Nat is, like, very clearly dead.
And you could have saved us if you had only done more.
There's a little bit from the previous Avengers where there's a line that Captain America says to Iron Man, you're never the one to take the sacrifice, or something like that, because, like, there was a line in Captain America's original, not a line, a scene in Captain America's original movie where he, like, jumps over a fake grenade to, like, protect it, because his ideals is others first, and Iron Man's is not.
Yeah. Yeah, he was largely selfish throughout a lot of the MCU, and his character arc was magnificent, of how he sort of grew to accept that he needed to help others before himself.
For sure. And Iron Man's story sure changed, didn't it? Oof.
Oh, yeah.
But the references do not stop there. The biggest, the actual biggest, the hammer scene.
Yes, the house party scene in Age of Ultron, where they all try and lift Mjolnir.
You never would have thought it was important. It was just this funny throwaway scene.
No. And I kind of called it a little bit back then. I saw him budge the hammer, and I was like, I saw Thor's reaction. He was
Thor
scared.
gets nervous.
And then Cap, I think, like, sees what Thor's reaction is, and he's like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it to him. And then, after Mjolnir got destroyed in Ragnarok, I never thought that there would be a payoff to that.
Yeah.
And even after Mjolnir came back in Endgame, the thought never entered my mind that they would have that big of a payoff.
There was so much else happening. I mean, how would you be thinking of that specifically?
Right.
Like, props to you if you were, geez.
But the payoff was so good. The Mad Lads managed to pull off a climax battle that lasted for a full half hour and not show, like, any signs of stress whatsoever. It all flowed perfectly.
It was insane. It was such a busy fight. There were so many little details.
Ant-Man punching a Leviathan in the face. Well, Giant Man at this point.
Of course, as he has been coined.
Tony and Pepper in both of their armors, like, twirling around each other doing the Unibeam thing. Whew, there's so many.
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck.
I wouldn't blame you if you missed this one. It was a very, very tiny snapshot of a scene.
It's the type of thing you only get on a third or fourth rewatches, pretty much.
But there was a little scene you get Howard Duck. He's carrying a big gun.
That means technically Howard the Duck is an Avenger now.
Oh god, we already knew he was canon for some reason. Now he shoots things.
And Howard the Duck wasn't the only addition to that massive army that assembled at the end. There were all of the Ravagers were there, all of the Sorcerers, the armies of Wakanda and Asgard, and on the other side, all of the Chitauri, even, like, weird hybrid species that we never even saw before.
Yeah, it was new.
Yeah.
Some bring out final trick for the final battle. I mean, I don't blame them.
Yeah. Plus, the Black Order returned.
Right, the Black Order. They come back.
For like a hot 5 seconds.
Yeah. One of them gets stepped on.
Yeah, Black Dwarf. I thought for sure we were going to get finally like a Black Dwarf versus Hulk going on.
Yeah, of course. But no, just straight up.
Yeah.
Dead in an instant.
We didn't really get to see a lot more actual Hulk action in this movie.
Yeah.
Because I guess Professor Hulk isn't as strong
as
the Savage Hulk.
Yeah, it was one of the weird side effects of having that switch.
Right.
Especially having it be so jarring like it was. Like, well, jarring. We just didn't expect it.
Right. Even though I felt like it was a really lean 3 hours and everything that needed to be in the movie was in the movie, there are still a bunch of other things that I wish we could have seen, like, spent more time with.
Of course.
Like, the main one being Spider-Man, for sure. I was the loudest guy in the theater when he came out of that portal, guns blazing, and seeing him back in action again was glorious, but it's heartbreaking that he didn't at least get to spend more time with Tony.
Yeah, that moment, again, in the final battle when he comes up. Oh, well, we were just talking about it when he pulls the, what was his name?
Black Dwarf.
Yeah, Black Dwarf. When he pulls Black Dwarf under the foot, and he just shows up in the heartwarming moment. He's no longer.
He finally gets that hug from Tony.
It wasn't just opening the car door. He's there for him.
Aww.
Speaking of...
Another great moment with Peter. The women of the MCU all just coming in, like, mothering him, like, hey, kid, I get it. it's hard right now.
We love
This
our
is a
good
really
boy.
scary time.
Aw. They all just... We got this, kid. It's alright. We're gonna beat the crap out of everyone.
The A-Force moment. Oof, that was awesome.
The assault. They're getting them.
Thanos just tries to headbutt Captain Marvel away. She's just like, what did you say to me?
Excuse? You want to try that again? Speaking of things we wanted to see more, Ronan.
Oh, yes.
Like, we got a good amount of action from Barton, but we didn't get much action from Ronan specifically. We only got the one scene of him as his vigilante persona.
Yeah, that whole fight scene was beautiful. It was like an anime fight scene, pretty much. And what made it so great was the fact that it was all one shot, like panning around all of the action.
You're right. But he was just such a cool character. Hawkeye in the previous movies was always my favorite character up until Ant-Man, of course. But he turns into such a disheveled man, and I would have loved to see the character that he becomes. Oh, after the snap brings his family back, I want to see who he is then.
Yes.
He has 5 years of mourning and loss and vengeance that he has to cope with now getting them back.
And that sucker punch right at the beginning of the movie as well.
Oh.
That was another thing that I predicted going in, was that it would be, the first scene would be either Clint losing his family to the snap or Tony and Nebula in space.
Yep.
And it was both of those.
It was both.
In order.
They just couldn't stop getting us.
No.
He lost his family. Oh, the part that really got me was Ant-Man. Because Cassie. He came back, and she was his little girl. She's not little anymore. She grew up. And that moment, it got me so hard. I was already crying from Clint and his family.
Yeah.
But I couldn't handle. I cried twice in the first 10 minutes of the movie. How can you do this to me? We got a lot of Ant-Man action in this movie. It was great. I mean, I could always use more.
As opposed to Infinity War, where he was nowhere to be found.
Of course.
I mean, we kind of saw what he was doing during Infinity War in Ant-Man and the Wasp. That was all explained.
Good
he was
movie.
in San Fran, but...
Yeah. I loved the attention that Ant-Man got in this one. He was integral to the plot. They wouldn't have been able to do anything without him.
Yeah, if it hadn't been for him coming back, they would never have even had the idea to go back and get the stones from the past.
Coming back because of a stupid rat.
I spent a year theorizing how he would get back from the quantum realm, and it just turns out it's the dumbest thing possible.
Walks over the panel. How can you do this?
I bet so many of the 14,605 alternate futures that Doctor Strange saw was just the rat not hitting the right buttons.
Oh my god.
And Scott never comes back.
It's ridiculous. There were so many chances. And it was a rat. There's so many better ways. Nobody thought to mess with the equipment in the van. Anyways, we're getting off topic. That made me a little heated, but it's fine. I got my Ant-Man. We're all happy.
Yeah, you got your Ant-Man, and I got my music. Boy,
yes.
did I get my music. I have always been such a nerd and a lover of the music and the soundtracks in all the Marvel films and a bunch of other films too, but that's beside the point right now.
They're masterfully composed. Every Marvel song, even from the first movies, the first ones composed for Iron Man, Captain America, Avengers, they've all been fantastic, and they all build up to an amazing climax in Endgame.
And the themes for Captain America and the Avengers have stayed with us for almost the entirety of the MCU now. Mm-hmm. And going back to the vault scene where Ant-Man comes out of the quantum tunnel in Endgame, it made me so happy because his theme from the first Ant-Man movie played in the background as soon as he got spit out.
Whoop, it's an Ant Boy, hello!
And then the other biggest example, aside from the main Avengers theme, obviously, coming back, was Captain America's theme. The soundtrack for Endgame was rife with Captain America's theme. It was in a bunch of moments, like when he got his shield back from Tony, when he picked up Mjolnir, it played and it freaked me the F out.
That scene, And the music in all of the final battle scenes.
Yes.
There was so much minor orchestration that you wouldn't be able to pick up on any sort of, like, first few listens. You have to really listen. There's so many little references.
Yeah, and the music is partially why the scene where everyone's coming out of the portals in the final battle itself, it literally moved me to tears both times I saw the movie. I just sat on the edge of my seat crying my eyes out at how amazing everything was unfolding in front of me. If you had told me 11 years ago that I would have seen something like this, Spider-Man carrying the Infinity Gauntlet while being flown along by Mjolnir to keep the Infinity Gauntlet made by Iron Man away from Thanos to try and undo his snap, and then he rides on a frickin' Pegasus in the sky. I would have thought that my future self was on drugs.
How physically are you supposed to look at that and go, oh yeah, that makes sense? Like, you can't know that this is any sort of way that they're going from any of the early movies.
No.
They built it up so incredibly to a fantastic conclusion. It's perfect. It is perfect.
Yes. Another music theme that came back that made me really happy was Doctor Strange's theme. Back when they went to the Battle of New York, and we saw the Sanctum being protected by the Ancient One, Doctor Strange's theme was playing in the background.
Ooh.
And that actually made me happier than it would have before, because in Infinity War there was a moment when Doctor Strange was fighting Thanos, and they had something that was like resembling his theme, but it wasn't his actual theme, and I was like, that would have been so much cooler if they had his original theme in the background.
Right.
And then they brought it back in this one, and I was so
Nice.
happy. The only one that wasn't in there that I really wish was Iron Man's theme from Iron Man 3 specifically.
Right.
Because I feel like that would have added an extra layer of tribute to him in this final movie.
Of course.
That was missing. That was like the only layer of tribute that was missing.
There was the tribute.
Oof.
The tribute.
Yeah.
Arguably, it's not the climax, but it is the biggest thing.
I would say it's the emotional climax of the movie.
It's so hard hitting.
sure.
I can't say specifically, obviously, because we were in the movie, but it felt like a solid 15-20 minutes.
Yeah.
The whole funeral scene, I was bawling my eyes out for so long. I couldn't take, it's like looking at a car crash. You can't look away. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. The funeral thing made me just ugly cry the entire time. And when they did the send-off with the proof that Tony Stark has a heart,
Oh, God.
from all the way back from Iron Man 1,
Oh, God.
which that was something like, I didn't even think that they would have kept that thing after he broke the glass in the
Yeah.
first movie, but...
Oh.
And then it made me even sadder going back on my second watch of the movie, because the music that was playing during his funeral was the same sort of melody that was playing when he recorded his message for Pepper in the very beginning of the movie. So there were so many little things like that, like with emotional context, that made me just start tearing up at the most random moments, seemingly, that like first-time viewers never would know.
We haven't even talked about his daughter.
No, Morgan.
Morgan.
So I really hope that we get at least a little cameo of Morgan in Far From Home. Like Peter interacting with her, hopefully.
Oof.
That would be really emotionally hard-hitting, obviously, but I feel like that would be fitting for the two of them.
The tributes aren't going to stop for a while. We're just at the tip. This was the climax of the emotional, but that means we have the fallout.
Yeah. Yeah, the time jump that made all of us just drop our jaws to the floor 5 years later, like...
This...
We didn't realize how big the ramifications of that were at the time.
This wasn't just Endgame. This is going to affect everything going forward. Like, we knew that things were going to change, that we were going to get more focus on other Avengers and whatnot. That was a guarantee.
Yeah.
But coming out of that, we didn't know about the gap. So we could never have predicted what that gap that we've just gotten is going to do to the future.
Yeah.
Like, Far From Home, right? Like, there's...
2023.
Oh, we have such a time jump. We have so much to cover on what's changed. It's insane.
And they built a monument to the Battle of New York. We see that in the trailer of Far From Home.
Right.
What if they end up building a monument to Tony? Because obviously the world is going to know.
Oh, God.
He's such a big public figure. The world is going to know immediately that he's gone. Oh, Far From Home is going to be an adventure.
Oh, poor Spidey. Poor Spidey Bean.
Yeah, rewatching that trailer after knowing what happens in Endgame makes me so sad because all the shots of him, like, brooding kind of, or looking at his suit and being like, I don't want to be Spider-Man right now. I just want to hang with my friends. Like,
makes so much more sense.
Yeah, it takes on so much more meaning. After he died in Infinity War, he just dead. He comes back. He reunites with basically his father figure.
He has the big moment. And then everything. They win. But at what cost?
So he's just gonna be so wrecked in Far From Home.
Of course. And it's not just Far From Home either. This is gonna affect everything.
Yeah.
Everything going forward. Any character that survived. And it's not just Iron Man. We have to deal with Cap now, too. Because Cap isn't...
I mean, that's not as emotional, though, because he got his happy ending.
He's not
Tony got
dead.
his happy ending, too, but it just wasn't forever.
Of course. It's just...
Because Cap finally got to go back in time and have that dance.
Of course.
It made me so happy. And what a way to finish out 11 years of groundbreaking cinema. To have Cap finally get the resolution to his arc as well, with him finally getting to be with Peggy.
Of course.
And handing over the shield to Sam, that was huge.
Oh, the passing on of the torch, the new generation of heroes.
Yes, and that makes me so excited for the Falcon and Winter Soldier show as well.
Yeah.
Because I really want to see Falcon take up the mantle of Captain America.
For sure.
I hope that we get at least, like, in a season finale, like, he starts wearing the Captain America suit that he has in the comics, Sam.
I want to see what happens with Bucky more, too.
Right.
Because, I mean, Infinity War and Endgame, he took up a major backseat.
Yeah.
Which is fair. He got really focused on. He got the Winter Soldier. That was his big movie.
And Civil War.
But
he was huge in that, too.
Even still, like, there was so little interaction. It was, I mean, with so much happening, it's reasonable, but
yeah,
he was still a big character. But for that to be
Bucky knew that Cap was going to stay back in time, too, because when he was sending Cap off through the quantum time machine thing,
right.
He said, I'll miss you.
Oh.
And remember, they all
I
thought
never
he was just
caught
going to be
that.
gone for 5 seconds. And Bucky goes to him and says, I'll miss you.
Oh, I never got that before. That's
yeah,
jeez.
I didn't catch that the first time. It's one of those, like, little small details that you don't catch.
Many.
And back to the last one of the main 3 Avengers, Thor. His arc in this movie was phenomenal.
Oh, Thor.
If you had told me 11 years ago that Thor would be one of my favorite characters in the MCU, I would have thought you were crazy.
Yeah, he was a big douche dork. Like, nobody liked him actively. He was just this big, derpy, I'm big man.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of cool, like the Shakespearean thing, but, like, other than that, he was, like, not really a character that caught my interest, but...
It wasn't that interesting of a character.
Yeah. Thanks to Infinity War and Ragnarok and Endgame, they really pulled that around. They made him one of the most interesting characters out of the entire bunch.
It's just insane.
After Infinity War, when Endgame opens, we get to see him just, like, super depressed. He wasn't even at the breaking point yet, but he was already starting to, like, wallow in himself, like, disappointment in himself, like, feeling like he just failed. And then he gets the opportunity to sort of set things right when they go to Titan 2, it's called.
Right.
And then he, in a moment of like brash anger, he just kills Thanos.
He has to take his opportunity. He can't let it slip again.
And the sad thing is, he expects that he'll finally like have done something right, and then after that he realizes it doesn't change what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change that the snap was able to happen and everyone dies. He still just feels like he failed, and now it's even worse because Thanos is just dead. Pulls
him down even further. There's nothing he can do about it, and he becomes a wreck. Entirely. He can't cope. So the only way he is able to cope with is ignoring. Sinking into a life of
wallowing, basically.
Yeah.
But the upside of that is, like, of course we got fat, depressed Thor, and I mean, of course, he wouldn't keep his physique up over that 5 years of just wallowing.
Surprised the rest of them did.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, they were on missions though, like
it's the only thing they could do to keep themselves up and going.
Yeah. But the upside of that was when Thor finally gets a chance to do good, and again, in the final scenes of the battles, we get this awesome, badass Viking Thor, dual-wielding hammers. Oh my god.
Where do you even get those skills? Did you train for dual hammers? How does that work?
I mean, he had to at some point over 1,500 years.
I suppose.
And like, one of the reasons why his arc is one of the best in the movie, in my opinion, is that scene when they go back to 2013 Asgard.
Oh,
and he has that talk with his mom.
Oh, God, there were so many emotional, hard-hitting bits.
And he just doesn't, he's still, like, super depressed. He wants to change the past. He wants his mother to come back. But then she turns him around. She just tells him, like, you gotta pull yourself together. You gotta maybe eat a salad.
She doesn't know any of what's happening.
No.
But she knows what needs to happen. She knows how to get him out of his rut.
Oh
he stuck himself in.
She's his mother, of course she would.
It sure took him some getting there, but with her help, he became the hero that they needed.
He became worthy again. Speaking of going back to the past again, one of the best scenes was the entire sequence in the 1970s when Cap and Tony go back and then to the S.H.I.E.L.D. facility. We get to see young Hank Pym again, and we see like the old Ant-Man helmet from the 70s comics. Made me so happy.
Love that bit.
And then but they just keep hitting emotional beats because of course they do, and Steve seeing Peggy through the window shutters, which is kind of setting up his decision to go back and live with her at the end of the movie.
Right.
But even more hard-hitting than that, Tony meeting his father.
Yep.
Because it reminds me of the scene from Civil War when he uses that binarily augmented retro framing to go back and like, this is how I wish my last talk with my parents would have gone. And I would have told them how much I loved them and like, I know it's going to be okay. And he finally gets to talk to his dad again.
You have to imagine that has a huge impact on him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that one interaction, that bit of closure, that has to change him exponentially.
Yeah, that was a huge turning point for him.
I doubt he would have been able to make his sacrifice without that. He needed that to be able to become the hero that they needed.
Yeah, and talk about closure. We started off this 11-year journey with I Am Iron Man in 2008, and then we get that callback. And it's even more emotional, even more meaningful now, and it hits you in all the right places.
There's just so much to talk about in this movie. We can't possibly cover it all. I've said it so often. It bears so much repeating. There's so much content. There's so much fan service. There's so much everything. It's incredible.
The Russos managed to pull off so much fan service without being an ounce of cheesy, which was frankly pretty amazing to me.
I can't. Like, this big of a conclusion, how can you not get some amount of cheesy with all the callbacks that they made, there were
Right.
so many moments where you go, oh, this would be a perfect moment to do this callback, and it would be adorable and cheesy, but they don't. They hit you with the things you don't expect. There's just so many incredible, amazing, fantastic moments, and we can't get to them all.
We can't possibly cover them all in this one video.
This was our impressions. This was what we wanted to show you of the movie. There's plenty of other stuff out there for you to go look at.
Oh yeah.
After you've watched the movie, of course.
Go see the movie. Again. Go see the movie again.
Like 7 times? I think that's about, yeah.
That's a fair number.
I mean, what did we see? Infinity War 3, 4?
I saw it 4 times.
You saw it 4, yeah.
You saw it like 2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah.
And I want to break that record with this movie.
It was so worth it seeing that many a times, and this one even more so.
Oh, so much more.
It's insane.
All that being said, we've got one last emotional heart hitter for you all. This is going to be the last video on superhero culture.
This has been one of the best projects I think that we've ever put together.
Yeah.
But it's time to move on. So we're not obviously just going to drop this sort of thing out of our lives.
No.
There's so much still to do with this, but we need an expansion.
Oh, totally.
And we feel like to do that, we have to put this behind us.
Yeah, it was really fun while it lasted, and I was able to sort of pump out my passion into something that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
It was nice to reach all of you 20-some subscribers out there, but...
Not the biggest audience, but humble. We did what we wanted to. We put ourselves. And we hope you at least got some enjoyment out of that.
Yeah. If you did, then we can say we succeeded.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Again, thank you everyone who's stuck around this long for this year-long journey, and
of course,
it's truly been a gift.
Been amazing to have you. Been amazing to have this.
Yeah.
This is only the start.
One final salute.
One final salute.